What's going on? Back to another episode of the Journey Podcast. I have a really special episode because we are going to be interviewing a good friend of mine. His name is Nick Komodina, and he has an incredible story to share about how he got into the fitness space. And Nick is a very notorious guy in the fitness industry. He's been a coach for a long time. He's been very successful at what he does. He's put competitors on the stage, and he's won shows. And I look up to him a lot. He's someone that I used as inspiration when I was starting my fitness journey. And when I first heard of Nick, I was actually bussing tables at BJ's Brew House in San Diego. It was about my first year or two here. I had made a couple fitness friends, and one of my fitness friends, her name was Lexi DeYoung, started hanging out with this guy, Nick. And I had never met Nick. I never knew who he was, but I started seeing his stuff. I started following him, and I thought, who the hell is this guy? This guy's crushing it. He's living the life. He's hanging out with all these girls. And I'm busting tables. I'm like, dude, I want to live this guy's life. Not saying that I was jealous, but I was low key kind of envious of what Nick had going on because I just didn't know how to get there. And so I looked up to Nick for a very long time. I didn't get a chance to meet him until just a couple years ago when I moved back from Virginia. And when I did, it's kind of surreal because I was able to meet someone that I looked up to for so long. And he had no idea that I was watching him from the shadows for such a long time. And, I've had the honor to get really close with him. I consider him a good friend of mine here in San Diego. I know he's out in Houston now, but still, I consider him a good friend. And, I'm just honored to have him in my circle. But I got a chance to sit down with Nick a couple years back before he moved to Houston. And he told me his life story. And I thought it was freaking incredible. And so I wanted to share that story with you guys. We'll talk about fitness, we'll talk about, protocols and stuff like that. But really, I just want to share the entrepreneurial side of Nick Komodina and how he got from, wherever he started, which you'll learn in this story, to where he is now. So with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. All right, guys. So Nick Komodina is in the building. And what we're going to do is we're going to get started with his story. So Nick, dude, pleasure to have you. It's great to
I'm
see you
happy to
again.
be here, man.
Yeah, I know. I was extremely sad when you left San Diego. I was like, we're losing like such a core piece of San Diego, but seeing you at LBW was so great. Just having a good time in the crowd. And we're like, damn, like I miss this guy. So it's good to
Yeah,
get
well,
connected
hopefully I'll
again.
be back soon enough, man. That's the goal.
I'll be counting down the days, man. But dude, you have, very notorious space in the fitness industry. You've been a pillar, I was saying in my intro, like you were an inspiration to me before I even got started. You probably didn't know this, but I was, yeah, you didn't know this, but I was bussing tables watching your stories thinking, who the fuck is this guy? How is he living this life? And so I've always used you as kind of like a guiding star of like where I want to be. And I was
Well,
saying
that's a
before,
lot, man.
yeah, dude, it means a lot for me to be able to call you a friend. So, dude,
Thank you.
what I want to do is start from the very beginning, like day one. I
I
know,
was born November 14th.
love it, man. Well, let's take it from there, man. How did you go from November 14th to where you are today?
Well, there's a lot of years in between that. So, I mean, man, when I grew up, it was just me and my mom, or my mom and I. My dad left when I was about 2, and statistically, you're more likely to be significantly more fucked up if that's your childhood, right? But my mom and I, she didn't make a lot of money. She made like maybe $30,000 a year before taxes, working at a church. Lived in a trailer park. Rent was $300 a month, so it was like we had enough money coming in to live, but it wasn't a very like luxurious life at all. And to me, like my mom was a fucking incredible parent, dude. Like she made me feel like I had everything. I never felt like I didn't have enough, but she instilled a lot of things in me to like I'm so frugal. I'm so frugal, like she taught me how to like put the car in neutral when you're going down a hill because it saves money on gas. And if you buy chili without the beans, it's 40 cents cheaper a can, but it tastes the same. Like little things like that I still do in my life. Like I still coast in neutral whenever I can. So coming from that, like I had a different look around money, I guess. Money was never really my motivator. It was kind of just like I had more intrinsic motivators than extrinsic motivators, because extrinsic motivators are basic financial needs, like financial security, and I learned how to have that on very, very little. So for me, from an early age, I was more into like passion, creativity, and like things that made me feel those were what drove me a lot. And when I was super young, like first grade, I was a book magnet. Like I read all the Harry Potters, I read all the Lord of the Rings. I was invested in dinosaurs. Like I was like a dinosaur genius, dude. Like it was like I could look at any dinosaur and tell you the scientific name, the era it was from, what it ate, when it died, all this stuff. And it got to the point where I almost would get kind of like bored with schoolwork because I just wanted to get back to dinosaurs. So I would make myself such a good student. Like I was an incredible student. I would blow through my tests just so I could get back to dinosaurs. And then math was something I was incredible at. And I got to the point where I could save time by doing the problems in my head. And I just taught myself how to do that. But I mean, I'm sure you know when you're in the school system, like if you don't show your work, it's wrong. Right. So I got in trouble for this, for not showing my work. And to the point where my teacher actually sent me to the principal's office for cheating on a test. And then they called my mom in. And then the teacher gave me a new test for me to take it in front of everybody to prove that I was cheating. And I didn't show any of my work and I got 100% on the test. And they were floored. And they were like, well, everybody has to show their work. So he has to show his work. Like they basically were like, no, you have to do it our way. And so I started failing. Right. I started flunking because it wasn't the way that my mind was working. And I even got disinterested in dinosaurs. Like my whole passion died. And that's where I think a massive flaw in the school system is. You know, like they're not there to breed creativity. It's there to kind of like conform people to a certain thing. And creative people, I'm sure you know this, creative minds, they need something to rebel against. They need something to go out and go against the status quo. But when you conform that and you put a cage on what somebody creative can do, you kill them. Right. So now I was failing. I wasn't interested in dinosaurs. And yeah, there's saying in the Bible, like idle hands are the devil's plaything. So I just started getting into so much trouble. I was flunking. I was the class clown. I was fighting all this shit. And I was just a super troubled youth. And then of course, all the teachers painted as, oh, well, he doesn't have a dad. Right. So it wasn't, man, we killed this kid's creativity. It was, well, he doesn't have a dad. He's fucked up. And I just think that's an important part I always like to tell people, because the school system really is significantly flawed for that. They don't honor our creativity at all. And I think that's a huge problem that I hope gets addressed somewhere down the road. But so kind of fast forward, I got kicked out in middle school for fighting, ended up going to a brand new high school. And that I think kind of saved my life, because otherwise I would have done drugs and probably overdosed and died. But that really brought me out of my shell. I started meeting more people. I actually started becoming very, very popular in high school. Like my junior and senior year, I was extremely popular, ton of friends, but I was a partier. I was getting blackout drunk every weekend. You know how it goes in high school. And while I had a lot of friends, you still get made fun of for certain things just because like that's how kids are. But I was really skinny. Right. I was 6 feet tall. I was 140 pounds. Like I was a beanpole, dude. And so those things, like, even though they're just joking, like it kind of hurts, and my mom was overweight at the time. And so we both kind of made the decision, or she made the decision of she was going to sign us up for the gym. I was like, hell yeah, sweet. Let's do it. I'm going to start getting ripped. Right. So I'm sipping my 6-star nutrition creatine that I bought at Kmart for $8 because I was like, this is what people eat to get big. And I'm going in the gym, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I see all these machines, and I asked this personal trainer, hey man, can you show me how to use this machine? And he was like, hey, yeah, sure. A session's $175.
Holy shit.
And I was like, you can't, like, you're not even doing anything. You can't just show me how to use this machine real quick. And he was like, yeah, dude, sorry, like you got to pay for a session. And I was like, that's kind of fucking shitty. Like I thought that was super fucked up. Like he wasn't doing anything. So that, like, being the person I am, I was like, all right, fuck you. I'll learn it all myself then. So I started watching a ton of videos. Greg Plitt was somebody that I found from a very early age. Man, that man motivated me for a long time. So I was watching Greg Plitt videos. I was reading a bunch of books, studies, anything I could find to help me understand what I didn't understand. And what I didn't know back then was I was actually already taking some steps as a leader of, hey, I don't know the problem, so I'm going to go out of my way to figure it out for other people. But I didn't know I was figuring it out for other people yet, right? So I started getting some progress. And then there's this one day at the gym, this older guy walks into the gym. His name was Frank. The most generic white guy name on the planet, right? His name was Frank. And I saw him kind of looking around with that same look that I did when I first walked into the gym, and he was not doing anything good. He looked like an idiot training. And so I walked up to him and I said, "Hey man, how's it going? I'm Nick. I'm doing this same workout. Do you want to work in with me?" So I worked out with him, just kind of helped him out. And then at the end of the session, we were done and he was like, "Man, thank you very much. I really appreciate it." And he shook my hand, and in his hand was a $20 bill. And so he kind of like, old guys are drug dealers, like notoriously, there's all drug dealers. So he puts a $20 bill in my hand, and that spark kind of lit off in my head. I said, whoa, I wasn't even trying to make money. I was just trying to, I didn't know this at the time, but all I did was focus on adding value to somebody, and I got a monetary gain in return, but that wasn't my intention, right? But I was 18 at the time, so I was like, fuck yeah, money, right? Like there's money in this personal training thing. So I started going for my personal training cert. And at this time, I'm working 5 different jobs, right? I'm working at the Boys and Girls Club, which I loved. I love kids. I work at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm working at Kmart. I'm teaching dance in 2 different studios and a gym. And then I'm also doing any sort of online coaching work or personal training work that I possibly can on the side to make money. But the issue that I was running into was that I had no time, but I also had no fucking money. And in my experience, people focus way too much on success or money and far too little on significance. But when you focus on the right one, you usually end up with both. So I was focusing all my energy on how much money can I make? What can I do for money? How do I get money? And therefore I had no money and I had no time. So that altercation with Frank was something that kind of first sparked that, wow, if I add value to people, like that didn't take any time out from me and I still made money from it. Granted, I was 19, so that lesson didn't really stick, right? In one ear, out the other when you're young. So kind of fast forward a little bit more. I was doing the personal training thing for a while. I was going to college, and this guy calls me up. His name was Chase, and he owned a little personal training studio in my hometown, and a mutual friend had hooked us up, and he was like, "Yo, I've got a job opening for a trainer." I said, "I'm done. I'm there." So he hired me, got the job, and he tells me, "Man, I think you need to drop out of school and train full time." And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not making any money right now, so that doesn't seem like a smart idea. And he was like, "Well, I need you here full time. I'm actually going to open up a bigger gym. I already have the building. I just need somebody to basically, I need somebody to do it all for me," is what he was trying to say. He's like, "I need somebody to do it and help me while I'm here training my clients, and I want you to partner with me." Dude, I'm fucking 19. I'm like, holy shit, you fucking kidding me? I'm gonna own a gym? Like, this is my dream. Like, jackpot. I'll fucking drop out of college. Let's do it. So I dropped out of college. And for me, dude, I don't know if you share this with me, but school really wasn't my thing. It wasn't my thing. I don't like people telling me I have to do things a certain way in order for it to be this, or like I have to, like the way I interpret knowledge has to be the same way you interpret it. Otherwise I'm wrong. Like I don't like that at all. And I think a lot of teachers, there's some great teachers, but there's a lot more bad ones in my opinion. But so I had no issue dropping out of school. My mom was begging me to not. "No, you're dumb. You need to, go to college." I was like, "Mom, you didn't go to college." Like really nobody in my family went to college. I was like one of the first people in my family to go to college, but I dropped out. But I was like, "Mom, I got this, I got it." So I got my CPT from ISSA. I finished the whole thing in literally like a week. Got like 100% on all of them because I'd already been studying that shit forever. I started training for this guy. I started opening his gym. We started building things. We started getting members. And about a month into it, he kind of comes up to me. He's like, "Dude, why are you telling everybody you're an owner?" I'm like, "Well, that's what you said." And he was like, "No, I never said that." I was like, you said you wanted me to be your partner." He's like, "No, I never said that. You're my manager." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, if I'm a manager, like I get a salary, right?" And he was like, "No, why would I pay you?" He's like, "I'll let you train all your clients and keep the money that you make from them and not pay me rent if you manage the gym." And all my eggs are in this basket now. So I'm like, okay. So I'm working at this gym, 5 a.m. in the morning until 11 p.m. at night, Monday through Thursday. have to find my own clients, train my own clients. But during my sessions, if people come in the gym to check in, I have to leave my session to go check them in. Right. So it was just this clusterfuck. And he was never there. After a while, people started just calling it my gym because I was the guy always there. And he didn't like that. So I got fired from being the manager, still had to work the same hours and pay him rent on top of that. So now I had to work 100 hours a week, pay this man rent, and also train my own clients on top of that. And I was like, dude, man, this is fucking terrible. You know, and I reached out to the other trainers who were there and I said, hey man, look, here's where this is at. Like, this man is a terrible boss. He's not a leader at all. And I'm thinking about leaving and opening up my own place where everybody can be in like a better environment. And before I even finished my sentence, they're all like, yes, take me with you, you know. And something that was really important that I didn't really realize at the time, but I realize now, is I didn't know what direction I needed to go to be a better leader. And I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people stress themselves out on, I don't know what exactly I'm supposed to be doing right now. But I'm very fortunate for having this altercation with this terrible human being, because when you don't know what direction to go, seeing exactly what you don't want to be gives you some better direction to go the opposite way. So I think, again, even with me knowing I never want to be a leader like that, I'm going to go this way, I still had no idea where the fuck I was going. I was just jumping and kind of building a parachute on the way down. You know what I mean? So I started asking around, and then this guy ended up finding out that we wanted to leave him. And if you can't tell by now, this guy was kind of a narcissist. And so he sent us all a group text at 10 p.m. on a Sunday, firing us all. So I had clients, you know, at 5 a.m. the next morning, and he's like, you can't use my gym anymore. You're fired. Everybody get out. And that was the first time I literally had lost everything. I lost everything. I no longer had a job. I no longer had income. I no longer had a place to train my clients, nothing. And I had no idea what the fuck to do. You know, I didn't sleep that night. I was stressing out. And then we ended up finding this like guy's garage in the back of his yard that had a yoga mat or a wrestling mat, like a rusted squat rack with 10-pound plates, and then like a pair of 15-pound dumbbells. And we were like, you know, can we pay you to train out of here? And he was like, sure. So me and another trainer, we trained our clients out of there for a month, you know, and it's like freezing. It's like winter time. It's freezing. We're in parka jackets and scarves trying to train people. And, you know, our entire clientele stayed with us. And I think there's a lot to be said to that, you know, because did you ever do the personal training thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, sometimes, man, people don't want a personal trainer. Sometimes people need a therapist. Mm-hmm. And whatever my clients ever needed from me, even to this day, whatever my clients need me to be for them during our time together, that's what I am for them. And without realizing it, I had built such an unbreakable loyalty that these people were literally following me anywhere because of the value that I had just continued to provide to them, no matter what they needed from me. I wasn't set on the track of, hey, I'm just your coach. Hey, I'm just a trainer, or anything like that. Right. So I didn't realize it at the time, but that being that for people and just constantly trying to provide value and help them creates an unshakable loyalty. So ended up getting a call from one of the other trainers, and his father-in-law wanted to invest. He said, I'll give you 20K. Can you build a whole gym with $20,000? I was like, I mean, no, but yeah, I'll do it. You know, if anybody can do it, it's my frugal ass. So, you know, I go there to get the check from this guy, and this other trainer's there, and it was like his father-in-law. And they're like, well, wait a minute. We're not going to give you the check unless he gets 50% of the business. And I was like, you fucking motherfuckers. But I get it now. You know, like if I was the guy putting up the money, I would have wanted my son-in-law to have part of the business. Like I totally would have. But, you know, back then, just kind of the way it was presented and the way they backed me to that corner, I was very upset. But I told them, hey, look, I can never give up majority say of my businesses ever again, especially when there's people that need to be taken care of. So I do 55-45. And they said, okay. So I ordered all this equipment, have it, you know, get it delivered curbside. I'll install it myself. I'll bring it inside myself, whatever I can do to save money. I never saw my partner once. So I'm doing all this myself yet again, building another gym by myself yet again. And it was hard, man. Like it was hard, but it was mine. Like that gym was mine. And we ran that gym successful for 3.5 years. We had multiple trainers renting out space. We had a supplement shop. It was awesome, man. It was seriously some of the best years of my life. But the issue was that I got really comfortable. And when I was looking at, like, thinking of my life 50 years down the road, I was picturing myself still waking up at 3:30 in the morning, opening my gym at 5 and staying there all day training. And that started to scare the shit out of me. I didn't see anything past where I already was. And then I went to the Arnold, which is where I met Kendall and Dez. And they were my first two online clients ever. We were just kind of talking. I was, again, same thing. I was just providing value to them. I was showing them a couple of things. We were training, and they both were like, "Hey, you coach, right? We want you to be our coach." And I was like, "Oh, I've never really done the online thing before, but like, let's try it." And I actually coached them for free because I didn't know what I was doing. They're my little guinea pigs, like, cool. Yeah. Let me see what we can do. And, obviously they both ended up competing. They both did really well. Des ended up being my first IFBB pro with her first season. So, the growth that I got from both of them is something I can never thank them for. And I think that was really the catalyst turn, was me just trying something I had never done before for free, just to get my feet wet and really diving into it and seeing how good I could be. And I think that was the difference. It wasn't something like a side thing. It was every client that I ever worked with. It was, how can I give this client the most that they need from me and be the best coach and get them the best results? And so as I did that, more people started kind of inquiring about online coaching. And I had no idea how the fuck to run an online business, right? Same thing. I didn't know what direction to go. I didn't know how to run. I didn't have systems in place. Dude, I was signing people up on PayPal for $150 a month. And I was doing check-ins every Sunday via text message. You know what I mean? I'm like, send me pictures every Sunday with your weight for that day and tell me how you feel. And I'd be like, great, do that, right? It'd take me like 8 hours to check in with 10 clients. And then I kind of got in this pull where, man, I've got a decent amount of online clients and my demand is still growing, but I've got no extra time because I'm at this gym. And there's a difference between passion and calling. I feel like your passion is something that you pursue that allows you to project your gifts into the world. A calling is something that pursues you, or something that pulls you towards it. And I felt this unwavering calling to go towards online coaching, to the point where within the month of feeling that, I closed my entire gym, sold all the equipment, moved downtown to San Diego, bought my apartment, and was completely on my own. And it was within a month, my income went down about 60% and my bills increased by about 30%. Pretty fucking scary. But the only person I had now was me, right? I didn't have anybody to fall back on. I didn't have anybody to blame either. If I failed, it was because of me. Or if I succeeded, it was because of me. So I only had one fucking option, and that was to succeed. And in that year of me just putting all my eggs in that basket and taking that same principle of, let me just make every client my most important client, our team, like my team, blew up so much. I think I went to a roster of around 80 people in that year. And I started Impact, which is my clothing company, which again, kind of idealizes the principles that I stand by, which is just making an impact on people. Yeah, making an impact and providing value on people. That's why I started that brand. So within the year of being in that apartment, again, I'm also a frugal ass person, so I wasn't spending much. I look at my bank account and I go, my lease is up and they're going to increase my rate. And I look, I'm like, holy fuck, dude, I can buy a house, And I literally a month later, I found a house and I put the down payment and I bought my first house, dude. And I'll never forget the day, James, our realtor.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the day that we closed the house. James gave me the keys, said congratulations, and left. I literally sat down in my kitchen, dude, and I just cried, because it was the first house I'd ever lived in my entire life. and I
Wow.
bought it myself. I'd never lived in a house before. And the reason I was able to buy that house, I wasn't even saving for it. I was just focusing on making every client the most important client that I could. And that did that for me. And it was unreal. But my issue was that I was so proud of that it kind of blurred me growing. Right. There's a quote that yesterday's success is the enemy of today's success. Right. So I was letting that success of what I had done, because I'd never had it before in my life, I was letting that success kind of bleed over of like, dude, how could I possibly get better than this?
Mhm.
You know, I'm 20, I think I was 24. Like I'm 24. I got my own house. Like I'm making tons of money. Like what else could I possibly do? And that's such a toxic mindset to be in, dude. You know, and that's what I talk about with extrinsic versus intrinsic motivators. So my extrinsic drivers were filled up, right? I was set, my basic survival needs were met, but I wasn't really focusing on intrinsic of passion, creativity, growth, all that type of stuff. So I was kind of at this crossroads because I had a massive wait list of clients, which like, you know, people who are inquiring that I just haven't gotten back to in like weeks, you know. And I know you as a business coach right now, there's like steam coming out of your ears, freaking idiot. But I was stuck in such a toxic mindset of like, nobody's going to be able to coach as good as I am. You know, I don't trust people to be on my team because obviously my past businesses showed me otherwise. And so I was really met with a lot of resistance there. And also like, why would anybody want to coach with anybody other than me? You know, it's just like such a douchebag, but unintentionally so. It was more just fear of trusting people. And then I made the best decision I've ever made for my entire business, which was hiring my head coach, Chelsea Stewart. And without Chelsea, there would be no growth on Team NK to where it is today. And since we hired Chelsea, it's been 2 years since I hired Chelsea, and our team has grown over 600%.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And we went from a team of 2 to now a team of 11. And I mean, we're still breaking records every single month, you know, with how many clients we sign and inquiries and sales calls and all this stuff. And, you know, I got to that point where I was so scared to have one coach. Now we have 7. We've got assistants, we've got sales reps, you know, we've got all this stuff. And really, I don't think I ever would have gotten to that point if it hadn't have been me kind of learning to trust people again, or just trust people in general and understand that. I always say this with my business clients is that there's at least 5 things in your business that you're absolutely fucking terrible at and that other people can do better than you. And as a leader, we need to know where our strengths are, but we also need to know where our weaknesses are. And when we can be aware of our weaknesses, we can hire people and outsource people into those weaknesses so that they become strengths in the business. And when you can really be self-aware enough to do that, that's when your team will grow bigger than you've ever, and that can be for any business. You know, that's when you really grow more than you've ever thought possible. And you end up working less than you ever have as a byproduct of that. You know what I mean? So other than that, I mean, that's where we are now, you know?
Amazing, man. Amazing. And so what's the future looking like for you and Team NK? What's on the horizon for you?
Well, right now we have 2 other intern coaches to be 2 more assistant coaches. Just hired kind of like an internal business manager, Kendall, and she does all the stuff that I hate doing, and she's phenomenal at it. So, I mean, by the end of this year, I mean, I really think that we'll probably have an additional 2 to 3 coaches, and I think we'll probably break right around 750 active clients.
Amazing.
Which is the goal. But you know, dude, realistically, eventually it's going to come to a point where I do step away from Team NK altogether, and I have Chelsea continue to run it and take it over. And I think that that's always something that's really important for people to think about when they're in businesses, is eventually you are going to have to pass the torch and somebody's going to have to carry on what you created. So I kind of prepare myself for that early on. You know, I've already had that conversation with Chelsea because I think a lot of times we start holding on longer than we should. And then that can end up being detrimental for the business as well. So I think long-term future, eventually I'll step away. But right now we are growing like wildfire, and I don't plan on stopping it anytime soon.
Amazing, man. I love it. Well, dude, I wrote down a laundry list of questions that came up while I was listening to your story that we
I
could
love it.
One of the things that I want to talk about is, when do you know it's time to stop acquiring knowledge and just get the damn experience? Like, how did you know it was time? Like, hey, I'm going to take on this bodybuilding prep. Like, I'm going to take on my first bodybuilding client. Like, what was your mindset going into that? Like, what was it like?
I think so. I say it like this: there's two types. There's three types of people in this world. There's ready, aim, fire. There's ready, fire, aim, and then there's ready, aim, think about it. Should I shoot this? What do you guys think? What happens if I miss? Never mind, I'm not going to do it. There's three types of people. And I think you have to be a ready, fire, aim type of person, especially as an entrepreneur. And I think you have to trust yourself that once you go on a path that you're going to figure it out along the way. Because if you sit and wait until you go, man, I feel so confident in this new venture, there's no way I'm going to fail, you're never going to start. And a good ideology here is that I'll take 10% execution over 90% of a thought, or intention. Because if my intention to do something perfect, if I have the 90%, like, oh, I could do this perfectly, and somebody executes it before I do and they get it 10% right, they're still way more ahead than I am because I haven't even started yet. So for me, getting into that whole, like, when do we stop acquiring knowledge before we start? I still am acquiring knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, to be completely honest, dude, I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. I'm peeking some people for shows and their body's not responding. And I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, well, this is what I know. And this isn't working right now. And I'll tell them, I don't really know, but I think maybe if we try this, it could work. And they go, okay, I trust you. Let's try it. And then we do it and it works. And I go, fuck yeah. But I think a lot of people tie their value, and obviously we'll tailor this more towards like online coaches. I think a lot of people tie their value as a coach to, I need to be able to know every single thing and solve every single problem immediately when my clients have it. And dude, to be completely honest, I can't tell you the amount of times clients check in with me and I go, dude, I gotta be honest, I got no fucking idea, but let me do some digging. Let me ask a couple people and then I'll get back to you with an answer. You know what they all say? Fuck yeah, thank you so much. And again, I think being a leader isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing how to adapt when you don't know something.
Dude, I love that. And that brings me to another question. One of the things that you have to do is say, hey, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And they say, okay, cool, I trust you, right? That trust has to be there.
Yeah.
So how do you build that trust?
By it. That's a really good question. So building trust with clients, I think it comes down to kind of what we talked about earlier, which is, what do you need me to be for you in this time right now? Because dude, there's some times where I get online check-ins and it's a fucking Harry Potter book of just shit going on in their lives, and being able to lead people respectfully, and that, I mean, leading people in general is how they're going to develop trust in you. But again, it's all about a leader saying, like, a leader goes first, always. So if a leader falls and fails, they get to turn around and say, hey, don't come this way, right? I fell this way. Let's try this way, right? So people see that. They see a leader out there doing the work, doing the things, and making the mistakes and owning them. Because a leader has to lead by example first, in my opinion. And when you lead by example, it's very easy for people to develop that trust, but also just being like, I tell everybody to have 5 core values for their business, for people to like trust you and buy into the brand. Team NK has 16 because that's just the type of person I am. So making sure that everything I do always lines up with all 16 of those core values, which is not easy to do, and never waving for those. People see consistency, and you trust something that's stable. So as long as you can be stable, and obviously results matter, but if you can be stable in everything that you do and preach and say, and not continuously go back on your word and fumble and kind of get caught in lies to make yourself seem better than you actually are, I think that's where you build the most amount of trust.
I love that. Being a leader, building consistency, and building consistency in your clients as well. To kind of go back on a topic before we got into trust, we were talking about executing fast. I feel like every successful person I know is the most impulsive person like ever. They make
100%.
they make huge life decisions extremely fast. And I remember you made the decision to move to Houston within a matter of like 2 weeks,
Yeah,
right?
pretty sure that
So
was it.
what is your thought process behind like, hey, this is a move that I like to make to the point to where you're like, okay, I'm doing it.
Man, I don't know. I think it literally just like you said, it's just pure impulse. And it's impulse of like, and like I said, the people who are like ready, aim, think about it. I don't know if I should, this, that. It's like what's it called? It's like paralyzation or paralysis by analysis, right? Like you get so worried about analyzing, is this the right move? Is this, is it that? Like, I don't know if I'll be successful there or not. It's like, you have to have so much unwavering trust in yourself for how much you show up every single day, no matter what, and prove to yourself that like when you give 110% to anything, you're usually going to end up okay. I think I have so much, like I've bet on myself so many times in my life and I've never let myself down when I give 110%.
Mhm.
So for me, it's like, if I'm like, yeah, let's move to Houston, fuck it, let's do it. I don't care because I'm here. My businesses are still growing more than they ever have. I'm I'm good here,
Yeah.
but I hate Houston.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait to move back to San Diego. But I'm glad I moved here still, because a lot of people say, well, what if you hate it in Houston? Well, I won't know until I get there, you know? And the way I look at it, we bought the other house here. This is an investment now. When we move back, I'll rent this house out. And now I've got another stream of income for a year of my life being invested. That's not a bad gig.
Yeah, dude. So that leaves a good question. So make decisions on impulse, act fast. But what if you make a wrong decision? Should people be scared of being wrong?
I'm wrong significantly more times than I am right still. It's something I talk to my clients all the time. What if I fail? What if I'm wrong? I'm like, dude, I fuck up. I don't think there's a single day in my life where I'm like, ah, shit, I fucked that up. You know what I mean? And it's like, people have this unexplicable fear of failure because they think that the second that they mess something up, everybody is looking at them. Everybody's going to laugh at them. What is everybody going to think? And dude, at the end of the day, like nobody gives a fuck what you're doing. Nobody is looking at you. Nobody is staying up at night going, man, I hope Zach makes $10,000 less this month. That would make him such a fucking failure. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares except for these people. And we like get into this neurosis of, oh my God, if I fail, it's over. I'm the worst. Everybody told me I wasn't going to make it. I knew I wasn't good enough to do this. So the second that there's any sort of resistance, that's it. It kind of reiterates that story that people tell to themselves that I'm not good enough to do this anyways. Whereas for me, I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be here. Like if anybody should have fucked up and like lost everything by now, it's me. And I'm still here. Like I've fucked up so much that I'm almost numb to fuck ups, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's like billionaires. They get another $1 million in the bank and they're like, because they've got so many of them, it doesn't matter. For me, I fuck up all the time. It's literally just another day for me at this point if I fuck up.
Yeah, no, it becomes a part of the process and you actually learn to embrace those fuck ups. You almost get excited for it because like you said, when you're a leader, your job is to fuck up and say, hey, don't go this way. Like go
Yeah,
the other way. So
absolutely.
yeah, no, I love that, man. But to kind of switch gears, I want to go back into the beginning of your story.
Okay.
You didn't really mention this much, but you were a pretty big dancer. I remember,
I was.
you
You're
still
right.
bust out
I
the
was
moves.
trying to paraphrase my story.
Yeah, you still bust out the moves now and then. I know that was a big part of your life. You even went to school for it.
Yeah.
What was it like closing that door, shutting out that identity and starting like a new version of yourself in fitness?
What's really sad is I really didn't close the door. I almost walked so far away from the door that I forgot it was there. And I think about it all the time. Ali tells me all the time, like, dude, you need to start dancing again. You need to start dancing again. Like a second a beat goes on, I'm in the kitchen, like, busting it down. And like my body has to move like that. But it came back to the extrinsic drivers. And when I moved down to San Diego, I was still dancing all the time when I lived in Ramona in that small town. But when I moved down to San Diego and I didn't have my extrinsic needs met anymore, that was my only thing I could focus on. Because until people feel financially secure and that their basic survival needs are met, they don't focus on anything else. And dance was a creative outlet. dance was a purposeful outlet. That was something that brought me a lot of joy, but it wasn't making me any money. So it wasn't something that I could focus on. So by the time I was done with, getting myself up for that year, starting Impact, moving into the house, I was prepping at the time. And, when you're on prep, going and doing a 2-hour advanced hip hop class like that, I would rather kill myself than do that on low cardio or low calories, So by the time I got done with that prep and all this stuff, it was like I had distanced myself without really realizing it from dance for so long that you kind of like just disassociate it. But like my body still has that in it, So even now, man, like I get super busy and like, I do Muay Thai now. I want to do this, I want to do that. And like, I keep telling myself I need to go back and do dance, but I'm purely just not executing. And I really don't know why. But yeah, I don't think I ever really like closed that door. It was more so like I got so caught up in the momentum that my business was building. And I knew I don't regret anything that I did. I missed dance, but I don't regret it because I knew that the momentum was building there and there was no chance I could let off the gas, and now I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had very similar upbringings too. When I was in high school, I used to play a lot of music. I was a bass player in a high school band. And I used to play all the way up until I was about 23, 24. And same thing, business started taking a priority. I was too focused on just trying to feed myself that I had to make some sacrifices. And, it's kind of a sad thing, but it's part of the journey. You do have to make sacrifices along the way. But you said something very interesting, which I have recently gone through within the last year is like, okay, you get yourself to a point to where those extrinsic motivations of like rent and financial security and, just basic survival needs are met. You start to get comfortable, but there's still something that pushes you to progress. For me, like I love helping people. I love building a community. I want to make an impact. I love to teach. So those are the things that are pushing me to continue growing.
Those are your intrinsic drivers.
Exactly. So what was that shift for you? What moment did you realize like, oh, I actually have enough, but like what's keeping you going?
I think it was really me figuring out who I was. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with, is especially like online coaches and competitors and stuff. And I always will do this practice with clients is let's take away your job. Let's take away your competence. Let's take away every identity you have for yourself. Cause I'm sure you have this with clients too, where they identify themselves solely with their business. So if their business is doing bad, then it's them as a person. So I had to strip away everything I knew I was. I'm not an online coach. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a competitor. I'm not anything. Who is Nick down to his core? And for a really long time, I knew the answer, but I fought myself because I just didn't want people to like think I was cocky by saying that I was a leader. But truthfully, I don't think that being a leader has anything to do with being alpha or thinking that you're better than people. So to my core, without anything aside, I am a leader. And I had to figure out what I felt my purpose on this life was due. So I constructed what I call the life sentence, which is in one sentence, what am I put on this earth to do? And for me, I feel like my purpose is to add as much value to people as others and help leaders become better leaders so that they can turn around and add value and leadership to other people. That's what I feel like my life sentence is here. So when I was really able to accept that and embrace that reignited my curiosity, my passion, my purpose, and everything in between. So for me, and this is where calling and passion comes back together again. Like that's my calling, that's my purpose. And my passion is whatever I choose to channel that through. So right now, my big channel of that is majority through fitness coaching and online coaching. Now I have my mentorship clients where I kind of like life mentor them. I don't really like the life mentor guide because everybody's fucked up. Nobody's got life figured out. So I can't, you can't do that. But that's my driver, is adding value, adding impact, growing something that's bigger than myself. And that's why we keep growing Team NK as much as it is, because yeah, people come to us because we get a lot of fucking trophies. At the end of the day, the results are fucking there, but we focus so much more on the shit that actually matters. Telling my client, showing my client, I mean, dude, I've had clients change jobs, quit careers, end relationships, get like, I help them through all of that because that's what motivates me, is just adding value to those people and helping them lead their own lives instead of surrendering to their own lives, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the ups and downs, man. Because I feel
Okay.
like, yeah, I feel like with entrepreneurship and running your own business, you're always stumbling, you're always facing a challenge, but every single time you come over that challenge, you fall upwards, right? And
Yeah.
it's kind of like you're falling like up, and then you realize like, holy shit, how did I get here? Like
Yeah.
all I've seen is problem, 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 but now I'm in this situation to where like things are good, right? So what has that been like? Because I always tell my clients that what's going to separate you as an entrepreneur is not your tactics, it's not your strategies, but it's how you talk to yourself at the end of the
Yeah.
day when shit is going rough.
Oh yeah. I it's actually really funny you say this. I think I did a podcast on this like 3 or 4 podcasts ago on my own podcast. But it's really funny that you mentioned this because I had this like it's almost like you realize what you just said, and then as entrepreneurs, we forget it a year later
Mhm.
until we finally look back and realize it and go, oh my God, I've been miserable this whole time, but holy shit. Right. And it was like there's multiple points in my life where I can truly say that was one of the worst parts of my times of my life, or like I was struggling very, very hard at that point in my life. And very recently, and this was, I mean, within the last couple of months, when I was really struggling with stepping into like I am a leader, this is what I do, this and that, I was almost having a little bit of an identity crisis. I was very burnt out. I wasn't feeling passionate in anything. And Allie and I went to the Maldives, the French Polynesian Islands, like one of the most beautiful places in the world. And I'm sitting there, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm having all these thoughts go through my head of like, man, like, why do I feel this way? And we took shrooms. And so, your brain dives even deeper and you start asking yourself these questions, and I'm freaking myself out. I'm like, why do I feel like this? Am I depressed? Am I, am I this? Am I that? Like, what's going on? Why am I struggling so hard right now? It doesn't make any sense. And then, I kind of look up and I realize that I'm sitting in our bungalow in an infinity pool on the French Polynesian Islands in the middle of the ocean, in probably one of the most beautiful remote places in the entire world. And I'm like, you know, for somebody who's dealing with a really rough part of their life right now, I'm in a pretty good place to do that. And that kind of made everything kind of like, boom, kind of shift back into focus of like, I feel this, there's multiple times you're going to feel like that and burn out and find that resistance and feel like there's a big shift coming in your life, and you kind of lose that identity and you feel all of that. But if I look back to all the times that's happened to me, it was in a trailer park, it was in a granny flat, it was in my apartment, it was in my own home, and now it was in a fucking 5-star resort, and I was like, I mean, man, if it keeps going like this, I'm that ain't too shabby, So I think, like I said, when we don't have that true identity of who we are in ourselves, that's when we get into those problems, and we keep. I'm saying that now like I've solved the riddle, but I can guarantee you in 2 years from now, I'm going to have the exact same problem. And I think just the more we're attentive of it and the more that we realize that it actually just is a part of the entrepreneurial process, because the one thing not the one thing stable in entrepreneurship is instability.
Mhm.
And that's why the number one trait of a leader, in my opinion, is the ability to adapt. Entrepreneurs and leaders, they need to adapt. And so like, just kind of tying it back into that question, like those lows and falling forward and stuff, like they're a part of the game. It's like you can't like, when you get to that low, usually it's followed by a high. And then you climb up, you climb up, you climb up, you climb up, and then usually you tumble down a little bit, but then right on the other end of that is usually another high. So like I said, if I keep falling down, and my last time I fell down, I was in the fucking middle of the French Polynesian Islands, then like, dude, I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the same thing to my clients. It's very cyclical, and you're plugged into, whatever higher power is out there. Because there's frequencies and waves and stuff in your
Yeah,
emotions, and
there are.
how your business goes. It goes ups and downs. So I guess my question for you is like, as you grow into entrepreneurship and as you grow, with the amount of years of business that you've been in, you probably have become callous to those ups and downs. And so do you remain neutral during those times? And if so, how do you, cope?
I, I think when you're passionate about anything that you're doing, it's impossible to stay neutral from the highs and the lows, right? Because and I think a lot of this comes down to how you align yourself because, and like you said, frequencies and waves and stuff. And like, if we don't feel truly aligned, our business will suffer. And if we don't feel fully aligned, we start questioning our success. We start questioning our business. We start questioning if what we're doing is right. We start questioning if we're worth it. And then because we're not aligned and we're having all these questions and all this resistance, our business starts tanking a little bit, right? Our business starts dipping. And then it reiterates that story we're telling ourselves, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I'm going to lose all my clients. I'm over. This was my, you know what I mean? Like this was my shot. I had it. Now it's done. I gotta go back to a corporate job. Maybe I can work for Amazon. They get good benefits. Right. And then something happens where you like kind of snap out of it and you get your shit together. And then all of a sudden you see your business just breathe right back up and you go, oh, thank God it was just a fluke.
Yeah.
But really it wasn't a fluke at all. It was just us.
See, I think that's so powerful to share. Like, because so many people on social media, they probably look at Nick and they're like, damn, Nick's killing it. He's always had it. He's in the French Maldives, like he's crushing life.
Yeah.
He's got a house. And you're here like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, what am I doing?
I'm losing all of my clients are going to be gone by next week.
Dude, I mean, I've had plenty of those moments as well. So I think normalizing those moments is great. And it's honestly really, really inspiring to hear that from you, man. But this is just a curious question just off the side, because we're kind of diving deep into this question. So Tony Robbins always says that there's two motivators: running away from your demons and running towards, pleasure, right? You're running away from pain or you're running towards pleasure.
I like that.
When you were starting out, what were you running away towards pain or were you running towards pleasure? Did it switch at any point? And what is it now?
That's actually, I love that. I've never really heard that before. I like that a lot. I would say when I first started, I think I was chasing money. Like I said, like I was chasing money just because like, I don't know, I never really had it. Like I said, my childhood was fantastic. Like I don't have very many demons from my childhood. Obviously, a father abandoning you has its own, mental shit that it trauma, like, its own trauma from that. But there wasn't really anything I felt like I needed to run from until I got to a certain point. And so it was like I got to this point where I was still living in Ramona and I had my gym and stuff. And instead of me saying, man, like I said, like when I looked at my future, all I saw was me at the gym. And it more so started becoming, I don't ever want to go back to living in that trailer park. Right. Now that I understand like what a normal life, like, quote unquote normal, because whatever the fuck that means. Right. But like a normal way of living, like a stable income where I can actually like do things and have all this stuff. It was like, man, I can't ever go back to that. I don't ever want to go back to that. I don't want to digress. Like I have a very big fear of digression. And I think that's what drives me to continue to grow. So I don't really know if that means I'm running towards something or away from something. I feel like it might be a little bit of both because I don't ever want to go back to where I was. I don't like going backwards. I don't like losing. I hate losing more than I love winning, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. And I think, like I said, my intrinsic driver is for me to just try to help as many people as possible because I love talking to people. I love public speaking. That's something I've been diving more into recently that I'm a huge fan of, and just continuing to grow the reach that way is something that I am chasing. But like I said, also I am kind of running away from like, I never want to live in that again. So maybe a little bit of both. Maybe I'm a hybrid.
Yeah. No, I think there's truth to having both. I think what happens is your standards raise, and then all of a sudden you're like right there on your standards. That thing is right on your tail and you don't want to ever digress. And so you have to keep pushing, running away from that until your standards raise again.
I like that. Yeah, I get that. As you progress forward, your standards start to raise for that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good way to articulate it.
Awesome, brother. Well, dude, honestly, I have so many more questions, but we are right coming up on the cusp of time. So I kind of want to give you, a chance to speak say anything that you feel, you need to share.
Well, I'm, assuming, all your listeners are more so like inspiring entrepreneurs and things like that. And I think, just a couple of the things that really helped me the most is I remember this time in my life. It was a story. I was talking to this girl in Escondido, and I went to the gas station. Right, I'm in my Honda Civic, and this guy pulls up at the gas station next to me, and it's this fucking just badass car, dude. And I honestly couldn't even tell you what car it was, because at the time I had no idea about cars. And he's about my age. He gets out. He's got fucking nice clothes on. I mean, this dude's he's super successful. And I kind of joke around. I'm like, oh man, like, what do you do? And he kind of like laughs, like, yeah. And he walks inside, and then he comes back, and I was like, yo, man, like, seriously, what do you do? Like, it's inspiring. And he came up to me and he said, man, here's the truth, is it's not about what I do. It's about what you do. And the truth is nobody's ever going to give a shit about your dream as much as you do. And the second that you realize that, you'll make it. And I'll never, ever forget that conversation, because it was such like a fucking like smoky, like out of the movie. Like, he was super vague with what he told me, and
his sunglasses on, whips them
yeah,
off.
right. And then like explosions went off in the background. No, but yeah, he said that, and that just pierced me so hard, in terms of like, it's not about what he does, it's about what I do, because I'm not meant to do whatever it is that he did. I'm meant to do what my purpose is. I'm meant to do what I feel my life sentence is. And when I can dive into that wholeheartedly without giving a fuck about what other people are doing, that's when I've become the most successful. I don't care if another coach has more successful clients than I do. I don't care if, Tony Robbins is out here charging $15,000 for a seat at a seminar. As long as I'm showing up the way that I know I'm meant to show up in my life right now, and I'm articulating that and channeling that to the people that I work with and touch, that's going to build momentum at its own pace, and the pace that it's supposed to build at.
I love it. I love it. That, and put more dinosaurs in college curriculum.
Yes. Thank you.
Keep kids in school, put more dinosaurs in.
Exactly.
Awesome, brother. Well, let us know where we can find you, man. What's your social media tag?
Cool, man. I am the same on every single social media on the planet. It's just Nick Komodina. I'm simple.
Awesome. Nick, thank you so much for chatting. We'll definitely have to do a part 2 here, because I still have, a shit ton of more questions.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I really appreciate being on the podcast, dude. Anytime you want me on, let me know. I love speaking.
All right. Well, we'll end it here.